capital city Chris Indoor House. This is my third show, and we're going to try to make this as best as possible. And I'd like to thank everyone for bearing with me. You know, we haven't had studio use, but I have a great producer. He figured out a way to bring the information to you without being in the studio. So let's get started here. Let's see what's happening in Michigan. You see, what happens in Michigan goes all over the world. Do you remember when there was protest at the state capitol about COVID, where it was thousands of people in a protest, but it was peaceful. They did have guns, but we don't know if the guns were loaded. Usually those type of groups of people, when they go on something ceremonial, they don't load the guns. So either way, they had the right to be there. And of course, the governor, she put it all over the world, called them all kind of races and just generally bad people. Then she shut down all the businesses, that really didn't need shutting down. All of this went all over the world. They claimed that some of it was because she wanted to be on the vice president list for Biden. Well, it's all backfiring. This issue, today is June the 2nd, and this issue of the George Floyd, whatever it was, has been going on about a week now, and we haven't heard not one word from gruesome Gretchen Whitmer or dumb Dana Nelson, whatever her last name is. We haven't heard from either one of them during the time that the white people were protesting. They ran their mouth all day long. You know why we haven't heard from them? Because the people are mostly black. And if they say too much, they will lose the black vote. I'm not saying the blacks will vote Republican, they just wouldn't come out of the house. So these two women are being derelict in their duty, and they have abandoned their post of keeping the Michigan citizens apprised and what steps we're going to make. As we know right now, about 5 cities have been hit. Lansing, Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, Flint, Grand Rapids, a couple of more have been hit really hard with vandalism. And all the things that are happening across the country, it is no longer a protest. This is domestic terrorism and a national security risk. I have already let some of the leaders of the country and the state know this. I haven't heard a word about it. And every day, the instances gets worse and worse. Because as long as it's called a protest and you get a slap on the wrist, that gives them the opportunity to just continue it. And then some people are organizing groups to go and loot places. The minute we announce domestic terrorism and there's no bail, maybe they will get some relief around here. In the meantime, I understand what's going on. This Floyd, George, or whoever he is. But this is just a part of the Democrat plan from the beginning. Now next show, we're going to be showing you how the Department of Defense started all this demoralizing of the black community with the rap music. I'm going to show it to you. I've shown it before. They were the ones who put all that stuff out here about kill the police and kill the nigger. Just about every rap song, one of them two got a dad, the police or the nigger. And they make billions of dollars off of it. And now they got the nerve, they want to be talking about June the 2nd is going to be Silence Day in honor of them. And they the ones got everybody killed. Ice Cube talking stuff about him and Colin Kaepernick, talking about a black-owned group. And that was when all this stuff proliferated. Both of them should be picked up for questioning, for inciting domestic violence against the United States of America. And once again, it's not everybody. It's only about 10, maybe 15% of the Americans are doing this. Only about 10 or 15%, and 99% of them are Democrats. I doubt if you're going to find a Republican out there. I doubt it very seriously. So that's what I got to say. And this is also sort of biblical. When the angel of the Lord had to come down and put the devil into the pit. Y'all know it's 3 or 4 times in the Bible, maybe more than that, about this instance. And I think this is the same thing, because the perpetrator was committing a crime, a criminal act. And instead of him when the police came, the best thing to do was put your hands up and, okay, now you got it, but I know I'm going to get out of it in court. That's not the way black people are trained. And now the white people do it too, call themselves sovereign citizens. When the police come, you're supposed to raise hell now. When that Aubrey guy got killed, all of them, it'd be about when the police come there, they go to call them MF, and, you don't even want to know. YouTube wouldn't even let me play some of it. It's that bad. So maybe this was the straw that broke the camel's back, and I am not mad at the police, because he should have surrendered in the first place. Big as he is, it must have took 6 people just to bring him down to the ground. And then when you read the report, the autopsy was loaded with fentanyl, and that makes you stronger and crazier. So maybe this was just their final straw. But this is what the Democrats need to keep up a whole lot of foolishness. And they've already conditioned the black people to fight the police anyway, so you can keep selling these drugs and getting your welfare checks. Talk about that on the next show. So that's what I got to say about this George Floyd mess. It's in the Bible. The angel of the Lord had to put the devil back in the pit again. And it tells you that it took some time, days before the whole thing stopped. That's what you got going on right now. You got the minions of the devil, Lucifer or Satan, keeping up this mess, even though the devil has been thrown into the pit. That's what I got to say, Bible. So, cause of death, the fentanyl tells you that his heart was weakened, and he's trying to attack 6 people. You own fentanyl, all that stuff, and then he's still trying to clown. And the police are getting hurt too, so, and I've seen this every day because I have to. I have to watch all the police videos and watch them get called all these dirty names for half an hour. That means that we're going to have to change the law so it won't rise to this level. Gotta do it. And I'm tired of blacks being trained to kill the police, kill the niggas. It's time for the police and the black people to file some class action lawsuits against the rappers who've been proliferating this for almost 50 years. That's what I gotta say. And because the devil only has a short time for destruction, and they're making the most of it right now. And I don't even think the police should be charged. They were doing their duty. A lot of times people get killed and that they get shot to death and all this stuff. But the Democrats need to make it worse than what it is. So that's how they got black people trained. So they're making it look like it's about the white people. It ain't got nothing to do with the white people. No. So we talked about that on other shows. It's got to do with the black people, the black women left their husband and their family and joined the welfare drug subculture. and use their children in the prison and taught their daughters to have babies so they could get a grandmama check. This all stems from that. And many times, every station, you couldn't go on any station that you didn't hear rap music. Kill the police and kill the nigger. So this time they got both of them at once. They got the police and then they got the niggers out there on the street just clowning, causing all kinds of domestic violence and domestic insecurity and crashing threats to national security. That's what's going on right now. That's what I gotta say about, this. We overrode COVID. Oh, that just show you there. COVID ain't bad as y'all thought it was. I tried to tell you, but people wouldn't listen. It takes something like this, to bring out my point. So what we're going to do now, we're going to look at some of the lies that have been told about COVID. We're going to look at the foreign doctors who want to have all the way universal mask. See, what they're trying to do, they're trying to bring America completely down to the low level of third level countries that are born of incest and inbreeding. That's what they're trying to do. It's the foreign doctors who are putting the oxycodes on the street. The FBI just busted a ring, 352 of them, based in Michigan. Billions of dollars they make putting the oxycodes out there. So let's watch this clip now of this foreign doctor from India trying to bring America down with COVID. Roll it.
What is your sense of what we see out there tonight in terms of the way the curve seems to be trending in the right direction in the Northeast, at least, as opposed to the rest of the country?
Lawrence, thanks. Always good to be with you. What I would say, and just to amplify Dr. Masri's points, the perspective from an intensive care unit where I'm actively caring for patients here in Seattle is different from what you hear from our elected officials. There isn't that much wiggle room in our ICUs here to extend resources if more patients end up coming into our emergency rooms because we're easing social distancing. We don't have multiple beds. We might have one crash bed, as we call it. So there isn't that. There's a huge gap between those of us who are on the front lines and seeing the day-to-day realities and what you're hearing from President Trump, where all's well, from Governor Kemp down in Georgia. Let's reopen up. There's a huge gap. And I think the one thing, so all of the things, remdesivir, I would actually say we feel guarded optimism about remdesivir. I have multiple patients on that medication in the ICU. Improved recovery by 4 days, meaning you could potentially get out of the ICU a little quicker, but we don't know if it actually saves lives. We don't know if it actually beats out the virus. Does it actually combat it? We don't know that. There's still a lot unknown. A vaccine, all the optimism on Moderna's vaccine, probably just cautious optimism at most at this point. It's still very early. They only had 8 patients enrolled in that phase 1 study. So there's a lot unknown, which means we have to hold the line on masks. The fact of the matter here is that universal masking protects those who can't escape to the Hamptons or who can't go and do telework. It's going to really impact our frontline workers, our grocery store clerks, our nurses, our respiratory therapists, those who are, by the way, predominantly women, who are predominantly people of color. That's who it's going to protect. So I don't understand why masks has now become this culture war, this trigger word for so many people. These are basic things that we all need to hold the line on and build consensus on. And if our president's not going to message on it, we need to.
Hey, you saw that? Did you see? Did you hear what he said? Look, I called that office and I told them, I left them a message about this person, and he looks scary and mean and evil. He's one of the foreign doctors that's been taking America down. Oh yeah, they've been doing, I done told y'all, but you people don't listen to me. All this COVID stuff, it's all started by the foreigners. I told you years ago about the rappers taking down America when they made billions. So maybe you might want to start listening to common sense. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you what the American doctors are saying about COVID. It's completely the opposite of what that foreign guy doctor's doing. They're trying to make America a third world rat hole like India and those other places. So roll that clip of the American ER doctor, brought to you by Mr. Levin. Roll it.
I do want to move into the coronavirus. This is a very widely viewed video, but many of you may not have seen it, of this ER physician talking about this COVID-19, and he drops a lot of bombshells, and this is very, very much worth your time, I think. Let's take a look. Cut 4. Go.
I say, do we need to still shelter in place? Our answer is emphatically no. Do we need businesses to be shut down? Emphatically no. Do we need to test them and get them back to work? Yes, we do.
The White House Coronavirus Task Force expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, says otherwise.
You know what's interesting about Fauci hasn't seen a patient in a long, long time. He's been in that job 36 years and in the federal government 50 years. He hasn't seen a patient in a long, long time. He's getting paper shuffled, and he's taking a look at these are frontline individuals, these other doctors. Go ahead.
I don't want to hide in my home, develop a weak immune system, and then come out and get disease.
Reporting the disease, Erickson claims, is being forced onto healthcare professionals.
ER doctors now, my friends that I talk to say, it's interesting, when I'm writing up my death report, I'm being pressured to add COVID. Why is that? Why are we being pressured to add
now
COVID?
Stop. I have pointed this out, right, Mr. Producer, for weeks. And when I looked at their form, the federal government's form, the March 24th form, it was the fallback position. If you're not sure why the person died, if you're not sure what the main reason was for the person dying, if you think they had this virus, then put it down. And I've been objecting to this day in and day out, and NPR and ProPublica and all the rest of the left-wing kook operations have attacked me for this. It's not just that they were way off on their models, bad data on the fatality rate, which was much, much lower, which we pointed out 6 weeks ago with the help of Dr. Ioannidis and Dr. Katz, among others. But I've been pounding this issue that the definition of dying from the coronavirus has been very ambiguous. And I'm not saying they're pumping up the numbers for any reason. Maybe they are. But the numbers are definitely being pumped up by bad data gathering. Go.
To maybe increase the numbers and make it look a little bit worse than it is? I think so.
According to Erickson, there is something much larger at play here.
This is not about science, and it's not even about COVID. When they use the word safe, if you listen to the word safe, that's about controlling you. So when I talk to all my ER doctors who work in a hospital, no stake in the game, same opinion.
Wow. Now, what will happen to these two ER doctors who are on the front lines and have actually been keeping data, significant amount of data? What will happen to them nationally? Two things. People like me will draw attention to them because what they're saying is very, very important, and the left will either trash them or ignore them. That's exactly what's going to happen because they've built up Fauci. Why? Because Fauci supports the centralization of governmental power, the centralization of economic decisions, just like Pelosi, just like Schumer, and so the media supports it. I've said now for over a week, maybe 2 weeks, that Fauci needs to step back now. We got his expertise, his medical expertise, but they got to leave it to other people to make the decisions about our economy and our society. That's way above his pay grade.
Here, the difference between the American doctors and the foreign doctors. You people got to understand these diseases are coming from overseas. Been telling you that since 1965, when Senator Philip Hire of Michigan, known as the conscience of the Senate, and Emmanuel bestseller of New York. They convinced Congress to flip the Constitution to federal immigration. It's communist, okay? They got it from Nikita Khrushchev. We're going to be seeing that on our next show. We're going to see Nikita, and then we're going to see the Department of Defense leader telling you about how they use the music to demoralize the black community. Then you're going to see rapping Fauci rapping about how they dropped a jet and somebody want to hear a rap, so they hop the jet and somebody go to jet. And that was the beginning of the Kill the Nigger raps and the Kill the Police raps. And since then, they've made billions. There was a while, about 15 or 20 years, that's all you heard anywhere you go, was them dirty rap songs. And very few of them were put out there without kill the police or kill the nigger. There was two things that the Democrats wanted done. They wanted less police power and they wanted less niggers. And how did they get it done? White people couldn't say it. So they paid the black rappers to kill the nigger and kill the police. And so now, in this George Floyd mess, they have spoken the police and the nigger. And now it's at a point where they're using it for domestic terrorism. The gangs are getting together and they're planning these assaults on the buildings. It's all being documented. I'm just waiting on them to announce that all of this is domestic terrorism, and anybody caught on those videos, you ain't getting out of jail. The fine for domestic terrorism is really high. And you're supposed to be at 25 years. The way they're portraying it now as a protest, it's been beyond a protest a long time ago. Days ago. And it is time to classify this as domestic terrorism. As far as I'm concerned, so is COVID domestic terrorism. Because it don't come from our country. It comes from these foreigners bringing this stuff over here to disturb the peaceful domesticity of the United States. And I see we've had all of these riots, which have risen to the level of domestic terrorism. All these thousands of people, but nobody's been reporting any new COVID cases. Because according to what they be saying, all them should be dead. Half of the people that protest should be dead. That tells you that COVID is not really what y'all been they've been trying to make you think it is. Like that foreign doctor talking about we need universal mask. So we all supposed to be one big maggot. Is that what you're talking about? One big maggot? That's what these foreigners are trying to do. It is time for America to go back to the Constitution. None of the stuff that you see happening is real. I'm sure the ones of you who watched show number 2, you saw that Russian defector, but you didn't pay him any attention. What he was trying to tell us way back in 85. He told you how he worked with the CIA to demoralize the American students. You got to keep in mind the CIA was being run by the Democrats. Even though Reagan was the president, he had forced the first. No. Tip O'Neill. He was the one behind all this stuff. And so now everything I've been telling you over the years is coming true. Only worse. And I showed you on show number 3, the next one, the steady screw. See, they're going to learn how to control America with these fake illnesses. So I'm going to tell you how I felt. I felt like I was drugged when I first started getting sick. And when I went into one of the hospitals, the doctor told me, well, we got to wrap her up in such and send her to receiving hospital for COVID. And I said, you're crazy. The only thing I got is for mild pneumonia. And I bust up out of there. And I went to another hospital out in the suburbs. And I stayed there 3 days. Wasn't no COVID. When the doctors came in, I would be playing Earth, Wind, and Fire, September, and all the dance tunes. And the doctors come in and said, what is she doing in here? All of my vitals were normal. Why was I there? If I had went on what the doctor said, the first one said, I would have went to receive and probably died. So I'm telling you guys, this stuff is all unreal. And all of you, if you haven't been out there on these national security risk terrorism concerning this George, whoever he is, keep in mind, he has the opportunity to be under arrest and just get out the darn car. Okay, man, you got it. But I bet you I'm going to get by in court. No, he's not trained for that. He's trained to sit in that car and call the police every dirty name for that next half an hour. He's trained to provoke the police. All of that. And then finally, the police got to break the window, snatch your butt out of that car. And this guy, huge. And the autopsy said he had fentanyl in his system, and that helped to weaken his heart. And he's trying to do all that stuff and fight all them police. And so once they got him down, they made sure that he didn't get back up. Now, I'm not saying that they were intending on killing him. No. But he brought the whole thing on himself. But you have a choice there. You can surrender peacefully and go in and go to court and talk about him like a dog. Or you can sit up in your car for the next 20 or 30 minutes and provoke and aggravate the police beyond recognition, which we're going to make some laws to stop that anyway. Oh, yeah, we're going to have to review these laws. You only got 1 minute to complain. If you still complain after a minute, you automatically calling in the FBI and charging you with domestic terrorism. All of you, the sovereigns, the Moors, the nationalists, the auditors, all these people causing all this stuff, the trouble here in the United States. They think they can follow the Democrats' plan of fight the police. But this is the end of that. If the leaders listen to me, this will be the end of it. It's going to be so many people arrested for domestic terrorism. They better get off the streets now. That's all I can tell them. So if the leaders listen to me, that's what's going to happen. Will not be getting a slap on the wrist talking about no protest. No. Will you be able to get it? It's hard to get a bond out for domestic terrorism. It's very hard to get a bond out. That's what I got to say to all these people. And insofar as the governor of Michigan and Dana Nessel, oh God, where are they? They abandoned mutiny. We haven't heard a word from them. They scared the black people. Oh, everyone's scared to track their own people, the white people. So we only got a couple more minutes left, and you got to see my phone number, my email address. I'm not hiding. It's you're the ones who are hiding. So everybody is scared of all the truth that I tell. A lot of Republicans are scared too, even though it's helping them, because they're scared to say it because this doggone national security, domestic terrorism really been going on for 50 years. But now it's in its worst form of domestic terrorism. So that's what I gotta say. Capital City Chris in the house, signing off for show number 3. Hopefully we'll be back in the studio if Gretchen shows back up. Gretchen on the run. We haven't heard a word from her or Jana. So anyway, looking forward to being with you. Feel free to call me or email me. I dare you. So that's it for today. Capital City Chris in the house. Signing off, waiting for anybody brave enough to contact me.